So, the video is mostly based on the paper called Slippage Dependent Teleoperation of Wheeled Mobile Robots on Soft Terrains by Weihua Li et al. And it should be noted that it's just but a part of ongoing research concerning the wider topic of teleoperations. A teleoperated mobile robot. In layman's terms, a remote-controlled robot which can drive around. Very useful, send it somewhere dangerous or hard to reach for a person, like minefield, ocean depths, or Mars. Another thing which caught my attention and led to choosing this paper was the topic of slippage of a wheeled vehicle. During my conscription I had a fair share of practice in off-roading. Also personally experienced how our truck slipped sideways into a pit, so I was interested how does the paper addresses the issue. Now let's look at the problem definition. Suppose we want to tell a robot to move with certain linear and angular velocities, but due to reasons the robot actually moves differently. This is why we have two sets of desired and actual velocities. Moreover, each of the two robots' wheels possess their own similar sets. With this, we can model the slippage to be a difference between the expected linear velocity achieved by a wheel's rotation with the real case. By our definition, the slippage can be positive, meaning the actual linear velocity of a wheel is smaller than it should be. Or it can be negative, when the wheel slides and has its expected linear velocity exceeded by the actual one. By the author's words, the paper tackles two topics in the solution. These are slippage-dependent compensation for commands, located in tracking the desired rotation speed for a wheel affected by slippage, and position error-based controller which tracks commands from an operator. A scheme depicting the teleoperation process is shown to you now. Looks daunting, isn't it? It would take a lot of time digging in this as well as previous publications to comprehend it, therefore I'll simplify the logic of it. Suppose we want to make the robot move a certain way. In perfect conditions we simply send our desire to the robot and its state changes accordingly. But in reality, wheels interact with terrain, therefore introducing deviations into the robot's state. In order to bring the actual state closer to the desired one, the system estimates slippage based on the previous input and robot states. Taking the estimation in concern, we can augment our input to compensate out the deviations, or at least the majority of them. The slippage estimation is achieved by processing linear velocity and rotation speed of each wheel. Linear velocity is derived using motion capture of robot's body, whereas the rotation speed is received through reading driving motors encoders. Now let's move on to how the authors have tested their solution. As a human-machine communication interface, a touch haptic device by 3D Systems Inc. was employed. The device allows a user to feel a touch of a virtual object by, as worded on the device's webpage, applying force feedback on the user's hand. The research team, however, have thought to use the device slightly differently. For the first joint, a user can control the linear velocity of the robot. Through second, the angular velocity. And the third joint was locked in place by a high-gain position controller, making it practically unmovable, since the robot has only 2 degrees of freedom. And here's the whole experimental setup. A robot is rolling on a flat soft surface, while a person is trying to control it over LAN. A touch device with its controller reads the human intent to move the joints, along with the incoming robot's velocity state. With this info, a proper response is generated and forwarded to both the person and the robot, allowing an operator to have a feel of robot-terrain interactions as well as communicating the operator's intentions for movement. To summarize my thoughts on the paper deals with only a fraction of the whole picture. It tests only a specific scenario. As we've just seen, a flat surface. It's but the beginning. Also, the authors confess themselves that the system is still unstable when encountering the sliding events. Nonetheless, they are quite satisfied with the current performance. I usually say, an unfinished project gives opportunities for further development. And the progress thus far, all in all, is still worth the merit.